Hi everyone, welcome to Social Work 540, Social Welfare Policy. So first things first, I want to let you know how to contact me. My name is Vicki Klein. I am going to be your professor this semester. The first best way to get in contact with me during the course will be to send me a message in Canvas. If for some reason you're not able to get into Canvas, you can send me an email to vaklein@widener.edu. You're also welcome to give me a call. My phone number is listed there. I do work during the day, so if I don't answer, which is very likely, please feel free to leave me a voicemail. Texting is also okay, sometimes preferred. Sometimes I can respond to a text much more quickly than being able to call you back. We're also able to set up a Zoom call if you prefer face-to-face communication. Obviously, Zoom has become much more prevalent in our lives over the last year, so it's very easy for us to set up a chat via Zoom if that is preferred. My office hours are typically Mondays and Tuesdays in the evening when I start to grade your discussion forum posts, but I'm happy to adapt that and meet with you as needed. I try to be checking my email regularly throughout the week so as not to need to reserve time in the office hours and can be pretty flexible. So I try to get back to you within 24 hours or so. But if for some reason I don't, feel free to give me a call if I haven't responded to your question. Since we're going to be spending a lot of time together this semester, I want to give you a little bit of background about me and where I'm coming from, how I approach this course. I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland, and have lived and worked in multiple different places doing a lot of different types of social work practice. My history is in both micro and macro practice, and I've always felt most comfortable practicing with feet in both of those realms. This is because I believe that's where true social work practice is found, in the place where policy impacts human lives and the lived experiences of people impact the development of social policy. I've worked in grassroots and activist settings, for example, lived in a Catholic worker community, which was a soup kitchen and shelter for families, which also did a lot of organizing work around nonviolence and poverty. I also spent years involved in humanitarian work on the U.S.-Mexico border, working on issues of human rights of migrants in detention and in transit, as well as those who had been recently repatriated to Mexico. I spent a couple of years working for an NGO in Mexico City, researching the impact of U.S. immigration enforcement policies and practices on families living between the U.S. and Mexico, especially those who had been returned after immigration enforcement in the U.S. And we did a lot of work on engaging in public policy with both governments to improve the situation for those transnational families. I also have done a lot of work on developing policy recommendations and legislation on how to deal with unaccompanied children in Mexico. Now, for the last 5 years or so, I've been re-engaged more in direct practice, doing generalist clinical social work in an outpatient medical setting with Johns Hopkins Community Physicians and Baltimore Medical System at the East Baltimore Medical Center. We're a federally qualified health center, which is the embodiment of social policies and the application of funding strategies. And my current position is the senior social worker at East Baltimore Medical Center, which means I lead a team of social workers and financial counselors in serving patients who are underinsured and uninsured. We're also working on developing a case management program for patients to provide longer-term care for complex medical patients in East Baltimore. I also am a mom of a new baby who's 6 months old, and so that takes up a lot of my time and energy, and it's been an exciting change to this year. So why this class? Why is this an important part of your foundation as social workers? Because policy impacts everything. This class is going to look at policy from a historical perspective and a modern day perspective. The historical roots of the profession tell us about how beliefs and attitudes have shaped how we approach the idea of helping both on a micro and macro scale. Exploring the history of social policy development helps us understand the way that society has responded to social problems over time and how we might respond now. We will learn how social policy is developed in order to better understand how we need to advocate and become involved in future policy development. This involves understanding the various levels of social policy. In understanding how to advocate, we will also explore how ideology and belief systems influence how social policy gets developed, perceived, and changed. It also influences how social policies are applied, how power is distributed, how funds are distributed, how funds are allocated, what gets preference in legislation, how things get kind of tagged on to different things in order to address social policy issues at different levels. These are really important and they impact every aspect of how we do social work and how we live in the world and in our society as well as our patients and clients. So the key to this class is your participation. Discussion forums are the bulk of your grade at 65%. They are due on Thursday evening of every week, and your responses are due on Sunday night. You may have noticed that during COVID, we have gotten a lot more flexible about late submissions. My general rules on this are as follows. Weekly discussion posts that require a classmate's response are due on Thursday. You may have a grace period until Saturday. I strongly encourage you to get them done as early as possible in order to allow time for your classmates to review and respond to them. Otherwise, there isn't much discussion happening. So the reason that I try to stick to this and give a little bit more time before Sunday is exactly that. The idea is that you all are engaging with one another. And if you aren't turning in your initial posts until Sunday or later, kind of defeats the purpose. And so in order to try to stay true to the idea of having a discussion, I want you to post them no later than Saturday, but to really try to honor the schedule as much as you are able and get them in on Thursday. Your Sunday posts are due on Sunday. A grace period here would look like Monday or Tuesday submission, preferably Monday evening so that I can grade them and not get too far behind in grading as things start to pile up. If for some reason you know that your submissions are going to be coming in beyond this grace period, I really need to hear from you. So we may need to have a discussion about what that will look like. That's to be respectful, again, of your ability to respond to discussion posts of your classmates and also respectful of my time as your professor and being able to stay on top and stay punctual with my grading and feedback to you so that we don't get too far behind as the course goes on. These courses are very condensed at 7 weeks, as you know, and we try to pack a lot into them. And so if you are delayed in 1 week and don't get back to it until the next week, it can push everything back and cause a lot of chaos for you as the course goes on. So, looking at timelines as not as deadlines, not as kind of hard and fast rules, but they are guidelines for how to keep the course on track so that you don't get too far behind and get more difficult to catch up. As part of the discussion forums, I want you to use good internet etiquette. This should be pretty common sense for you all by now, but if you need a list of suggestions, it's in your syllabus. So this little segment is about lame discussion forum responses. Many of you are crunched for time. I totally get it. But I implore you, do not produce fluff-filled discussion posts. If you've taken other classes, you've probably discovered that it's very possible to do a discussion post that is technically correct, that addresses the points in the syllabus and in the prompt, but actually pretty lame or lacking in substance. one which you're meeting a word count in, but aren't demonstrating critical thinking. Do yourself and me and one another a favor and avoid this. Contribute quality work. Ask questions of one another. Offer suggestions and constructive criticism. Give feedback on other people's posts. Do not write fluff posts. With discussion forums in this course and in every course, you get out of the discussion forum posts what you put into them. So I've provided an example here of an example of a Lane post, which should look so familiar to you from participating in different courses. But I encourage you to read it and think about kind of what that might look like for you. You know, don't write something that just is cordial but doesn't say anything. You might offer feedback about the person's post. You might think about your own post in the context of reflecting on theirs. You might offer suggestions, further reading, reference one of the course readings, whatever. But think a little more critically about how you're responding to people's posts so that it's not a waste of everyone's time. The worst is feeling like you're doing busy work in order to just get through the course. You're paying for this course, and so the best practice would be for you to try to get as much out of it as possible. So, course assignments in this course beyond the discussion, there are 2 papers. The first is a social welfare problem history paper. So in week 3, during your discussion forum post, you're going to choose a social welfare policy problem to explore further. For this assignment, you're going to look more deeply at the problem you've selected, providing analysis of the roots, the history of the problem, the scope of the problem, and the way that it has evolved over time. It's a short paper, 4 to 5 pages, but it's going to identify a social welfare problem that you find interesting or intriguing or impactful, and further explore that problem. I'm going to go over each of these in more detail closer to the time they are due, but this is just intended as a brief overview of these assignments that you're going to be responsible for completing in the course. And then the second assignment is a social welfare policy brief that's due in week 6. In this assignment, you're going to look further at the problem that you described in your first paper, develop some concise proposals for dealing with that problem, and present them in the form of policy recommendations. So, there's some important things I want you to know for this class. Your writing in this class matters. Proofread all of your posts and all of your work. I have strong expectations for you to produce good writing, use proper grammar, and demonstrate high levels of scholarship and academic standards. I do deduct points for poor writing or sloppiness in your work. Always pay attention to your APA citations, and please read the plagiarism information posted on the classroom site. All of these things are very important. I like to think about good writing as a form of advocacy. The people that we serve, the communities that we work with deserve us to be the highest level of professional that we can be, and that begins with the way that we present our thoughts. And in this course, it's online, so writing is the way that we communicate. So it's very important that you do that well. If you struggle with writing or presenting your thoughts in writing, feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to use the library resources. Feel free to use the Writing Center resources. If you have questions about assignments that are coming up due that following weekend, please submit any questions about them prior to 5 o'clock on Friday. That'll give me a little bit of time to get back to you within 24 hours and not kind of keep you waiting until the very end. If you have questions about anything as we go forward, please feel free to reach out to me. I hope that you enjoy this course, and I hope that you find it interesting and relevant to what's going on in your practice and in our communities. Thanks so much.